Hey Bessie, how's it going? Thanks for your submission. It's looking like we made some good progress here. So I'm going to look at it from the front view first. I'm sorry, the side view first, and then I'll go to the front after. So let's see. Let's identify a cycle here. I'm going to start it here. All right, so let's see. Cool. One second, sorry. Okay, here we go. Here we go. All right. So one thing I'm still kind of missing is the pelvis. So not the center of gravity control, but the pelvis control to see a little bit of rotation on there. So when this foot is forward, I want to see like that pelvis kind of open up. I'm going to draw this exaggerated, but this is the back side of the pelvis. So we need some like rotation here so that this hip joint is forward in space and the back leg hip joint is back in space. You may have to adjust your feet a little bit forward to account for getting a little extra distance or whatever in that. And then we need that hip to animate. It shouldn't be flat. It should only be like flat to camera on this pose here. So this pose is going to be somewhere in between the rotation, what you had before. Like it's starting to close. It's maybe not completely closed. Here it can be closed, and then here it's like it's opening again. So now we're going to see the side of the hip here, and then the front of the pelvis like here. So this is the front that I'm coloring in, and that will push this hip joint back further in space a little bit, and this leg's hip joint, the far leg, will be pushed forward a little bit. So just getting those incorporated, I think, is going to be great. Cool. Let's see. You still have like, there's some keys that aren't all keyed together. I'm guessing these are like these pull vector arrows that are at the top of the thigh maybe aren't getting picked up when you grab everything. We can talk about your method to see if there's a way I can help with that. Make sure that this foot is flat on this pose, so you may have to lower down the character's center of gravity a little bit on this pose to make sure that foot is flat during this passing pose. That feels great. That like down that you have right here, that's really nice. I really like that. Good stuff. Oop, pardon me. So let's see. Yeah, okay. So I like everything that's going on here. I think that those little clean up those little things, and then we'll start making some in-between poses here. But let me look at your front view so that we can talk about what's going on here. All right, so this one and this one are the same. So there's something going on in your loop where it kind of like jumps over to the right and jumps over to the left. So when I take a look at what's going on, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Like with this, with the side-to-side spacing, Okay, so if we look at this ghosted, it kind of becomes a little more obvious, like what's going on. So from here to here, it starts to shift over, right? Which is nice, but then in the next frame, it has stopped shifting over. It hasn't made any progress. So from here to here, this one should probably continue, if not gain a little speed, gain a little further gap. So if this one's closer together here, this one gets a little bit farther apart. And then here, you jump over a lot. So I feel like you're just missing, and like you're missing just this in between here on this pose. So jumps over, but then it goes perfectly straight up. So I think you almost want to continue it to go over a little bit and have that, but let that be a smaller jump than the previous one. Does that, hopefully that makes sense. And then here you want it to almost be, still have a little bit of movement over to the left, but not that much. And then you want to kind of start undoing it as you move it back to the right. Because right now it goes from here all the way over to here, like it's moving that much just between two poses, and that is a lot. So you gotta try to just look at your spacing on the left and right and see what can be done to kind of like smooth it out, make it more gradual. And then it feels like there's something going on. Oops, sorry. Yeah, so like if this is where your foot is planted, right? Like this is where you're stepping on the ground. It jumps over to the right there instead of like tracking straight back like I would expect it to do when it's on the ground. So I think, you know, when the foot is on the ground, have it just go like straight back in space. Only when it's up in the air can you like kind of play with having an arc, either like that or like this as it brings forward. But when it's on the ground, it should kind of keep the same, you know, same side to side position. I feel like I'm at a loss for words. But anyways, yeah, and then once you're done with that, we'll take a look at the arms in more detail. But I think it would, if you can hit these notes for next week and start doing some breakdowns in between these poses, you know, by giving another pose halfway between all these in timing. I mean, halfway in timing, not necessarily in their spacing of the limbs and everything. So try to really think about your spacing, and you know, your motion should be kind of like easing to a halt and then picking up speed again when it's transitioning to the other side, and then it needs to slow in again. So, you know, keep an eye on your spacing and your timing as you're making your breakdowns. Think about stuff, make sure that it makes sense for you. But yeah, if you need help with any of this stuff, just let me know. I have office hours, pretty flexible. So yeah, but great stuff, great submission, and keep up the good work. See you next week.